welcome to this Going Global seminar about Denmark. We're here to learn more about how you could do business in Denmark, and we're very happy to have so many of you here with us today, around 50 companies, and you're of course very welcome. We also have a great expert panelists, and I'll present them to you, and if you're online you can maybe wave, or some of them are here in the studio. We have Hanna Leffler, Country Manager for Denmark at Business Sweden. We have Richard Mosell. He's here today as a representative for Exportcentrum Skåne, but he is also a global business developer at Business Sweden. We have Annie Bohr, Director of Tax at BDO Copenhagen, and from BDO Copenhagen we also have Maria Fischer-Riesmøller, Senior VAT Manager. We have Anne-Sophie Bramsen-Dahlmann, Project Manager and International Lead at the Interreg Project Science for Society. We have Fredrik Malmberg, Project Coordinator at the Interreg Project Lighting Metropolis. He's also with us here today. He'll join us later. Last but not least, we have two entrepreneurs with us to give us their views on how they did this journey, how they started to do business in Denmark. It is Anders Holmberg, Chief Sales Officer at GetAccept, and Niklas Najafi, Founder and CEO at Nayel. They are all here for you, so you're very welcome to ask questions in the chat. You just write them in the chat, and to make things a bit easier, it's good if you write the name of the person you want to ask the question to, along with the question, so we know who to ask. We'll try to address all your questions during today's program, but if there's some questions left, we'll get back to you later on. My name is Anna Palmehag. I'm here to guide you through today's program. And the first thing I'd like to do today is to introduce Ola Andersson, CEO of Ideon Innovation. And you're going to tell us a bit about why you started this seminar series, Going Global, right?
Yes, absolutely. I'm just going to start with saying that we're going to hold a series of live stream webinars that focus on internationalization. And this is the first one where we focus on Denmark, of course. And at the 26th of November, we are going to hold the next one that is targeting the German market. And it's the incubator and Ideon Science Park that are doing this in collaboration. And today we also have the very interesting project Science for Society co-hosting today's event. And why we are doing this, it's because there is a great need for it. Almost every company that we have in our network are the ambition to be in market outside Sweden. And specifically for the incubator, we have it as a very strong criteria that to be able to be part of the incubator process, you need to address a market outside Sweden quite early. So yeah, we hope that we can answer some of your questions today, but most important, get you inspired to take the step to the next market.
Thank you. You mentioned Science for Society. We also have Anne-Sophie Bramsen-Dahlmann with us today. And could you please tell us a little bit about what Science for Society is?
Sure, good morning. I'm in Aarhus University right now, sitting in our brand new innovation hub, the kitchen. It's actually made in an old kitchen from the former hospital. We are part of the Science for Society initiative. It's running now for the 4th year. It's a cross-Nordic initiative with the aim of bringing research into use and into value for society. So science for society. We do that through a lot of different services for researchers, but also for startups and SMEs in the region of Sweden and Denmark. Internally at the university, it could be motivating researchers to actually get the research out into society to make a difference. It could be trainings, entrepreneurial training, business training. It could be matchmaking with companies. It could be business modeling and venture funding. But we also want to get in touch with startups and SMEs and help them create markets at both sides of Øresund, and to help them get in touch with the knowledge that they need to build more products or to grow their businesses. So that is kind of the core of what we do. We have universities in Denmark and Sweden involved, and a lot of startups and SMEs in both countries.
Thank you. Thank you, Anna-Sophie. And you'll come back later and tell us a bit more about what you do.
Definitely.
So now we know why we're doing this, and you might want to know a little bit about why I am here with you. Well, I work for something called Øresund Institute at the Øresund Institute, and we call ourselves a knowledge center about Denmark and Sweden. We try to share knowledge about Sweden in Denmark and Denmark in Sweden, and also about the Øresund region. And we do this through analysis, through our news service, News Øresund, which comes in both Swedish and Danish. And we also have meetings. We have around 120 members, mostly companies, but also from the public sector. And we arrange several meetings every year for them. I'll tell you a little bit later more about a specific analysis we've made about mental obstacles in business when you're doing business across the Øresund. But for now, I will start to introduce our first expert panelist, which is Hanna Leffler, country manager for Denmark at Business Sweden. And you will give us a picture of the Danish market and the current trends there. So Hanna, could you please tell us a little bit about Denmark in general and which sectors provide the largest potential for Swedish companies? And also, how can Business Sweden help? What are your role in this?
Yes, hello, good morning everyone. I'm sitting here at our office in Copenhagen. And shortly then about Business Sweden, first of all, if you don't know us. So Business Sweden was previously called Exportrådet, and we are 50% state-owned and 50% owned by the private sector. And so we are located all around the globe with 42 offices around the world. And we say we provide strategic advice and sales execution and operational support to Swedish companies. So we work with market expansion, help you with kind of entry strategies, which market should you choose first, and market analysis, as well as more sales acceleration, which partner should you partner with, increase your distributor network, etc. But since we also have this state hat, we work a lot with business to government. We work a lot with together with the embassies around the world. So we are also kind of door openers to important stakeholders, also here in the Danish market, and also with public affairs, etc., etc. And then also with more like hands-on support in Denmark with business incubation, etc., etc. And then actually here in Denmark, in Copenhagen, we also work a lot with the UN. Since UN have 11 agencies here in Nordhavn, and where UNOPS also have their headquarters. So we also have a large program where we help Swedish companies approach the UN and sell your products to the UN and the field. But then about Denmark then, I would say Denmark and Sweden, we are very important for each other, and we have a really good relationship. Denmark is a very important trade partner to Sweden, and Denmark is actually Sweden's 5th largest export market, while Sweden is Denmark's 3rd largest export market. We used to be number 2, but now actually US has surpassed us, and it's because Denmark has a very large life science medtech industry, where they sell a lot to the US. So it's for them it's US, then Germany, and then Sweden. But I mean, Sweden, Denmark, we have this, I mean, we are close by markets. We have this geographical proximity. And I would say that is a great asset for the Swedish companies as a first market to approach. We have kind of similar national legislation, and so it's, and also this European legislation, which makes it easier for us, the Swedish companies, to come to Denmark. However, I mean, one of the largest, it's still important to understand that Denmark is a different market with different regulations, etc., etc. So it's really important to to know those, I would say. But also some others, like just numbers to understand the importance of between Sweden and Denmark. And it's actually that 1/5 of all foreign companies here in Denmark are Swedish. So there is a great potential. And around 66,000 people are actually employed in Swedish companies in Denmark. Yeah, and but I would, if you look at the Danish economy, it's diverse with a lot of different industries and sectors that are of great importance to Denmark. And I would also say that it's within those sectors that there is a large potential, of course, for the Swedish companies. And when looking at the Danish market, it's Denmark are really strong within healthcare, life science, and they are renovating and building new hospitals currently for 91 billion SEK, with a lot of they also work a lot with digital healthcare solutions. We can also see like Swedish companies coming in with consultants to the Danish healthcare sector. Then of course also the consumer sector with kind of the retail, the fashion industry, but also the food industry is large and very important here for the Danish market. Denmark is like a front runner in innovative and sustainable and effective food production. There is also a large ICT and tech sector here, with large ICT clusters and more than 12,000 ICT companies and more than 100,000 employees within the IT sector. And it's also like a front runner within the tech sector, I would say. And then of course, also the green transition, the green kind of the energy with the wind sector and the green energy, etc., etc. So there are a lot of interesting, I would say, industries in Denmark.
Are these the trends in the Danish market, would you say, or are there any others as well?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at more the current trends, of course, Corona has had a large impact to the Danish economy. So, I mean, but Denmark compared to other European countries has actually seen a slightly less decline, because they're really strong within this life science, medtech, and also the food industry. And those are industries that are still like running. But of course, the current trends, of course, and I think you can see them around the world as well, but of course, really here in Denmark, is really towards the sustainable and digital solutions. Kind of the digitalization has really been accelerating, of course, during this pandemic. So it's a lot towards e-health, e-commerce, e-education, fintech, etc. And Denmark has also started a new green future fund where they will invest 25 billion Danish kroners in kind of green technologies and solutions. So I think there are lots of opportunities there as well. Yeah, I think I will stop there.
So what should Swedish companies think about when they're entering the Danish market? Is there anything that you would say work, or anything they should consider?
Yes, of course. I mean, I think it's really important when entering the Danish market. It's really important to do your homework. When we talk to a lot of Swedish companies, I think it's a really common perception that you think you can enter the Danish market or any of the Nordic market, that it's easy. I mean, the markets are alike, but there are differences. So really, my recommendation is really to do your homework, like analyze the market potential, who, what, and how. Like, who are the customers in the market? Is there a need for your products in the Danish market? It's quite sometimes, it's not like when we talk, it's like you want to enter a new market and then you think it's like the customers, we filled up with the customers in Sweden, now we can enter Denmark, and there is a potential. But please analyze, is there a need for your products in the Danish market? Kind of how big is the market within this segments? And then I would say within those industries that I mentioned, those are really the ones that are evolving, and it's a lot of things happening here in Denmark within those. But also look at the competitors. What does the competitive side look like? Who are your main competitor? Are there any kind of national market leader, or is it like a fragmented market? It's good sometimes if it's a fragmented market, then you can take a position, etc., etc. But like, try to understand the pricing, the positioning, the channels, how should you enter, etc., etc. And then of course, like, when you have done this market potential analysis, how should you enter the Danish market? Should you enter like via a partner or a distributor, or like think about all those questions as well? Yes, and then what was I suppose? Yeah, and what to avoid. I would say if you really done your homework, there will always be some, how do you say, fallgropar. There will always be some mistakes, etc., etc. But I think they will be less costly, and really try to understand all the. I know you will. Video will also guide you through this, but the different regulations, VAT. We also kind of been talking with companies who maybe wanted to enter the Danish market too quickly because they had a timeline that they needed to do this work. But then, for example, a construction company, building company that won a procurement for TDC. And they said they could enter with all their kind of cars and working staff from day one, but then they didn't do their homework in terms of regulatory work, and because it's not easy like driving a car over from Sweden to Denmark and then use it here in your business, for example, a simple thing like that. But that can be really, really costly, and it was unfortunately very, very costly for this company, and they lost this deal. But then of course we've seen other examples of really successful companies who really did their homework and and for example now a last mile delivery company who's entering the Danish market, who really looked into the market potential, understood the market, and now entered. And then of course also with this transition into everyone ordering food, etc., etc. So the market is here, and it's just going like this for them. So it's yeah, it can sound really simple, but I think those are my recommendations. So thank you. And if you have any more questions, please reach out to me or my colleague Richard Mosell.
Yeah, he'll tell you more.
Yeah,
he'll tell us more later. Now I can see that we have some questions from the chat for you, Hanna. The first one is, has the COVID-19 pandemic slowed down the export and new investments from Sweden to Denmark? And if so, in what industries?
I mean, yes. I mean, I think that's you can see that all over the GDP here in Denmark, I think declined with between 7 to 8%, and up until summer. So I think they are really, I think in all sectors except for in some sectors such as life science, medtech, food, those, I mean, e-commerce of course has, but in all other sectors, I think also the Danish market are really, I mean, of course, they are impacted of this. But then there are a lot of fiscal measures now pushing out in the market to really try to recover after this. Or we are still in this pandemic, but yeah.
I see. And the second question we've got is, do Danish companies invest in solutions to the same extent as Swedish companies compared to solving things themselves?
Do Swedish companies invest in solutions
to the same extent as Swedish companies compared to solving things themselves?
Is it only, do Swedish companies invest in solutions?
To the same extent.
Okay, you mean like this? I mean that all. I think it's. I mean, it's. It depends on the company, of course. Some are really open, of course, if you come with an innovative solution and try to kind of sell it. I mean, they are like everyone else. Everyone wants to be better, more competitive in the market. So if that's something that makes their product or business even better, they are absolutely open to it. But then, of course, some have really built in good partnerships, etc., with maybe Danish or other companies, and in larger companies they maybe can develop it themselves. So it's really depends on the sector and the company, I would say. And that's also why it's so important that when you have your product or solution, whatever, that you really try to find the right kind of partners or channels where you can sell your products. You really have to do your homework there. So it's yeah.
Do your homework. We have actually got a third question for you. And this is, how has COVID-19 affected the ability to approach regions and hospitals with health tech products? It's more of a direct technical question.
Yeah, I mean, the regions buy through they have this, I mean, the health tech sector is large here, and Denmark have this digitalization strategy, for example, and they really want to improve. So they have a large program now where they are working with health tech and e-tech to kind of roll out that in Denmark. But then, so I mean, I would say that maybe it's easier now approaching, because I mean, since everyone, or we are at work, or some are at home of course as well, but I mean, it's a totally different world now, I would say. So it's yeah, I think there is, if you have a large or a great product, I'm sure the Danish companies or the hospitals want to listen to it.
So in some ways, there might even be an advantage at the moment.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I see. I think that was all the questions. So thank you very much, Hanna, and you'll stay with us. So if anybody thinks of another question further on in the program, just don't be afraid, just ask it and we'll get back to you.
Thank you.
But for now, we'll move on to our first testimonial. We'll meet Anders Holmberg, who is the Chief Sales Officer at GetAccept, an IT company founded in 2015, which now works in 5 markets and has around 3,000 customers worldwide. Anders, would you please tell us a bit more about GetAccept? What is it? What do you do?
Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you for inviting me here. Really interesting topic. So hopefully we can share some of our best practices and mistakes so you can avoid them. The simple version is that we have a tool that helps companies, mainly salespeople, to close their deals faster with our tool. So it includes e-signing, chat, and video, and features like that. We were also part of the Y Combinator incubator in Silicon Valley. So even though it's for Swedish founders, it's a US company. But the main office is here in Malmö. Yeah, that's the short version.
Okay. How did you come up with the idea of working in Denmark? Was it an obvious choice, or did you think about it hard before?
Yeah, it was really one of the stories that maybe tells you a little bit about the way we are as a company. At the end of 2018, we had office in Sweden and also in the US, and we saw really great growth in Sweden, and it kind of spilled over to the other Nordic countries. So then we raised the Series A, and big part of that was that we were going to internationalize and go into new markets. We decided to actually move into Norway as our first country because we had great partnerships there and we had more momentum there. But then one of our early angel investors had a person that came out of nowhere and was really, a really passionate person that we thought like, okay, we need to hire Peter. He can make a difference. So we saw some positive things also with opening actually 2 countries in the same time that we can benchmark, and we can learn from that. It's we can have them as a team, and they can collaborate also because it's going to be common challenges. It wasn't 100% well thought of. It was more, okay, let's execute, and that's the type of company we are.
Yeah, you find a good person in Denmark and you went for it.
Yeah, and I think that is still key. It's whether you find the person locally and hire the team in the country, or you do it from here. It's I totally agree with Hanna that you need to do the analysis, you need to do the background check, you need to know what you're doing. But at the end of the day, it's going to be enormously hard work, and it's going to be up to the person to deliver the execution. It's all about the execution, I would say.
Mm. So how familiar were you with the Danish market when you went in?
Yeah, as I said, we had customers. We had about 30 customers, mainly in the SMB space. So we had some persons in the country that knew about our system and that we can use as references and so on. We had some partnerships as well that started to grow up. Also from previous companies, many of us in the management had experience working with companies that had presence in Denmark and Norway. So we had some experience, but we actually took the decision to go into Denmark, and then we did the background analysis more in depth before hiring up the team.
Okay. Did it help you, this knowledge that you had in your organization?
Yeah, I think we had you know, we had been through some mistakes earlier in other companies. We knew a little bit about the challenges, so definitely that helps us, and I think also it helped us to be more proactive and to be more offensive. I think that we dare to do it.
So, do you find it different to work in Denmark compared to Sweden?
Yes, there is differences. We actually decided to put up the office in Øresund, in the beautiful city of Øresund. So hi, Ann-Sophie. As we have our office here in Malmö, we find that not going to the biggest city could be a big advantage. You get more help in the local community. You can stand out as an employer. And then since we have an office in Malmö, it's closer to Copenhagen. So that was one of our decisions that we took. But otherwise, the differences, I would say, the main one that I think I would investigate more than we did beforehand is the labor laws. There are differences in that. The contracts will need to be written in a different way, a different culture also with that, and the employee-employer relation and so on. So I think that's something that you need help with if you don't have that in-house. And then, of course, I mean, we focus a lot on sales, and since I'm head of sales, from a sales perspective, there is more, I would say, direct communication between us and our customers in Denmark, but it's not a massive difference. It's more from person to person and company to company. Yeah, I think the business culture is more alike than sometimes the rumor says it is.
I see. You're working in many countries, right? So has that given you any perspective on how it is to work in Denmark?
Yeah, exactly. So we have offices in a small one in UK now, and in Norway, and also France and US. And we saw and see Denmark and Norway as kind of our experiment also. It was our way to see, okay, what can we learn from here? How can we make this a really great example? And then from that on, we can grow into bigger markets that will require more from us as a company, like the UK and Germany and France, because there are more similarities between Denmark and Sweden. So I think we realized that some things can be structured in the same way, that we can have the same kind of work methodology in the company, which makes us really scalable. But at the same time, we figured that we need to change some aspects. For instance, we focus a lot on sales. So we hired like 5-person strong sales team after 3 months, and did a lot of, so naturally it became a lot of outbound activities to get the meetings and then get the customers. If we were to do it again, I think we would have had more focus on marketing as well, to combine marketing and sales more. So we were, yeah, but now it's picking up. So now it's more of a even mix. I don't know if I answered your question or if I just
yes, you did
going there,
very well. Looking back, is there anything that you were kind of talking about it now? Is there anything else that you think you might have done differently if you'd done it all over again in Denmark?
Yeah, as I said, the main thing is I would probably invest more in figuring out the differences in the labor laws. That would save us mainly time and distractions to have that clear in the beginning. It would also help us in recruitment and so on, that we would, have all of that in place. And then I would focus not only on sales, but also a little bit more on marketing. So instead of hiring maybe 5 salespersons, maybe hire 1 local marketing person, as we have now, that can help with translation and the local marketing events and so on. So think about the mix and that you have capabilities to do local adjustments while still keeping the foundation of your, the structure of the company. So you don't, I mean, it all depends on your big vision, but we see ourselves as that we want to be a global beast. We want to take over as many regions as we can and internationalize, and then we can't do it completely individually in each country because it's going to be really hard to scale that. And then I think it's all about finding those passionate persons, whether they be in your company already and moving to Denmark and doing that, or hiring them locally. So the first 5 hires, I would say, are absolute key to get them to feel like they are founders of that country, and that they are truly important, because it's going to go down to, it's going to take a lot of hard work, a lot of mistakes, but at the end of the day, it's going to be worth it.
Great. So was there anything also that you feel that you did right, that was really successful when you went into Denmark, into the Danish market?
Well, I think we have created a strong team in Denmark that are really passionate and that help each other and really feel like entrepreneurs. So I think we did something right in that sense, and we are also growing each month, perhaps not as aggressively as we have had hoped, but still really good, because opening up a new country is hard. So I think we've done a lot of good things there, and I think we also adjusted really fast, because we knew that since we didn't do maybe the homework as deep as you should, we also knew that we need to be very agile and change and correct things. So I think we did that in a good way as well.
It seems so. And finally, I was wondering, what advice would you have for another company that's thinking about doing the same as you did?
Yeah, I think actually we didn't use Business Sweden for Denmark for the Danish expansion. We've used Business Sweden for France, that market, and I think that's a really hands-on help that could help you save time and then be more precise. So I think that's one thing. And then I would say the labor laws is something to look after. And then focus on analyzing, but don't forget that it's all about execution at the end.
Sounds good. Thank you very much, Anders. And you will not be with us for the whole morning. So if you have any questions for Anders, please ask them as soon as possible, I would say. And then you'll have a chance.
And feel free to connect on LinkedIn and reach out if you have anything else.
Yeah. Great. Also, I can see that we have a question already.
Yeah.
And it is, how did or do you find the first passionate people in Denmark and in the other countries?
Yeah, as I mentioned, for us in Denmark, it was through our investor. So we had an angel investor that's actually Danish. And I think, having that network with a lot of people and spreading the word that we are looking into some possibilities, usually someone comes up that are in a place to look for a new position. I think personally, I think it's hard to hire a new person opening up a new country that you haven't worked with before or have some close relation to in some way. Just hiring someone that applies and then you hire that person, I think there's a lot of risk in that. So that person, and then the rest, I think it's up to having a structured way of recruiting, basically. So if you do that and then you search for really find not only look for skills and things that might be boxes to tick off. Don't forget about the passion and that you need someone that is willing to put in the work.
So it's also a bit about having a network so you can find the right person.
Yeah, I would say.
We have another question for you. When is the right time for going through a totally new market based on your experience? When is the right time?
I think it depends very much on each company, of course. We have, from our end, we have a global presence already in some way. So we get inbound leads from many different companies already. So we can see that when the level of leads is on a certain level and the level of customers we have through inbound, then we can also start to work more proactively on that region. So kind of our product, since it's a software as a service product, it kind of helps to scale a little bit for us in that sense. In some other markets or companies, I would say it can be opportunities that arise with partners or legislations that change, or maybe you get funding, or I think it's very hard to say an answer that applies for everyone there.
But taking the opportunity when it comes.
Yeah, I think that's still there is there are possibilities that arise all the time. You need to touch them when you see them and be fast and there.
We have a third question for you as well. People are very interested. It's good. How do you see the main difference between the US accelerator or incubator to the Nordic, Swedish, Danish ones?
I think, I mean, there are so many in both Sweden and the US, so it depends on which one as well. But I think in the US, many companies have the global vision is set there from the start, and they have a mindset that, you know, this is going to go really, really big. Whereas maybe, I mean, there are of course differences here as well, but I think that maybe the Nordic or the Swedish incubators are a little bit more like, okay, let's take it step by step and let's see how it goes. And we have a vision, but we also maybe don't want to fail. So there is a higher fail rate, I think, in the US incubators, but also the ones that make it really big. And then, I mean, the level of expertise and the competence in the tech sector is, of course, on a completely different level, especially on the West Coast, where you have, you know, founders from Gmail being on advisories, and you get access to top executives at Salesforce and so on. So I think that's also motivating for companies like us to kind of see the big picture and see what the real potential is.
I can imagine. And that was all our questions for the moment, at least. So thank you very much, Anders, for coming here to share your experiences with us.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, the time has come to tell you a little bit more about the mental obstacles that I was talking about. I hinted about them in the beginning. And you might wonder why we should talk about mental obstacles. By obstacles, it might seem a bit odd when we're talking about inspiration and information and trying to inspire you to work in Denmark, and all of a sudden we're talking about obstacles. But I think you'll understand the point of this while I tell you about this analysis we did about mental obstacles in business between Sweden and Denmark. And as I said before, I work for the Øresund Institute, and we do lots of analysis every year. For example, every 6 months we do a economy check on Skåne on behalf of Sparbanken Skåne. And another example is that we looked into how many board members there are in Swedish and Danish companies that come from the other country. How many Swedish board members in Danish companies and vice versa. And that might be a tip, actually, if you're looking into going into Denmark, that a board member is a way to get knowledge into your company. But to go back to the mental obstacles, we did this analysis 1.5 years ago, and we interviewed around 30 companies. And the aim was to find out not only, sometimes you're talking about obstacles between Sweden and Denmark, that you run into problems with regulations or distance or language or other things, but there are also things that are connected to those sometimes, but there are also exist a bit more in our mind. And that's why we call them mental obstacles. And to try to find those, we interviewed around 30 companies or entrepreneurs. We interviewed the CEOs or other directors, and also a few organizations that work across the border. And we asked them how they look upon working across the Øresund and doing business, and we got some interesting answers. And we identified four mental obstacles through this work. And the first one we call national gravity. And by that we mean that from an early age, when you're a child, you go to school, you are socialized into the national agenda, or what to say. You learn the national history, you learn the national language, the geography, the political system, and you don't learn much about the neighboring countries. You might there are some hours, but compared to the hours that we learn about Sweden, it's almost nothing. And then you start to develop national traditions and habits, because we're also socialized into this. We listen to, we get the news, the media is Swedish, culture, you take part of a lot of Swedish culture. Of course, you can listen to American music and so on, but still there's not much Danish, for example. And so we all feel like we are Swedish, and we get into this system. And by that, we also start to feel like the Danes are somebody else. They are different. And this goes in both directions, of course. You look at ourselves as we are the Swedes and they are the Danes, and they're different than us. And you know a lot more about your own country, and you feel more confident there. And the cultural differences could be everything from how to dry your dishes, because there is a difference between Sweden and Denmark in how you dry your dishes, to that in Sweden it's a lot more common with consultant companies, for example. And that's the first mental obstacle, and it's kind of the ground for the rest of them, you can say. The second one we call, or it is, corporate culture. And as you might hear through the day, and if you talk to companies that work in Denmark as well, a lot of people talk about the different corporate culture you can find. For example, it could be the direct communication that is quite commonly, Swedish companies often say that the Danes are more direct when they communicate. It could also be that a lot of Danish companies feel that the decision making in Sweden is very slow, strangely. There could be about, it could be about hierarchy. Lots of companies feel that the hierarchy is stronger in Denmark, but there's also the example of the opposite, that they feel that the Swedish companies are more hierarchic. Might be what you see in the other country, and how you look upon what hierarchy is and what it means. Also, there is a lot of Swedish companies that are a bit awed by what they feel is a Danish, the Danes are very skilled businessmen, or businesswomen, and that they're almost a bit afraid of being fooled or being cheated. One of the person we interviewed, she actually said that, you say that if the Danes wrote the contract, you have to read it through very carefully because they wrote it. And these are sometimes or often based on experiences, but they are eventually become stories. And as you know, horror stories are always the best stories, and they're easily told and you want to listen to them, and they're the ones living on. So they get a life of their own. beyond the reality, perhaps. And you have to look out for what is a story and what is it really like. The third mental obstacle that we found through the interviews, we call networks. Because networks is a very important factor when you have a company. And we didn't only look into corporate networks, but also private ones, because as an entrepreneur, you're not only a working person, an entrepreneur, but you're also a private person. And especially if you have a small company or even a middle-sized, networks is important, and also the private ones, that you can find a customer or contact that's somebody's wife's sister's colleague or whatever. And actually, whether you look at the private networks or if you look at the corporate networks, they're not really that existent between Sweden and Denmark. People don't know each other very much, and they don't work that much together, we found through these interviews. And that means that a lot of business opportunities never happen because people don't meet and get to find out there's a customer for you or a business opportunity here. So the fourth mental obstacle is kind of the sum of the rest of them. Because if you don't know anything about the Danish market, you don't know the regulations or how the market works, and you heard that you'll probably be fooled and cheated if you go there, and you don't know any people in Denmark, then there might be a big probability that you will think that, no, it's not such a good idea, I won't do it. And this might not be based on an actual conscious decision, but it's something back in the unconscious that you feel that this is not a good idea. And we understood through these interviews that sometimes there's a tendency to exaggerate the importance of the costs. You see the costs, it'll cost me this and this much to go into Denmark, but you don't see or put as much emphasis on the possible gains. And you can also, for example, the distance between Sweden and Denmark isn't that far, but you can feel a lot because it's a different country. For example, one of the persons we interviewed, he doesn't live in Copenhagen. It's a Danish entrepreneur, but he lives not far into Zealand, 2 hours from Malmö. But the first time he went for a meeting in Malmö, he booked a hotel because he thought it was such a long distance. And then now he laughs at himself. He's in Malmö a lot, but he just thought it was very far because it was another country. So my point is that if you're aware of these mental things that are going on in our minds, you could take a decision, and of course there can be substance in them, but you can also think a bit further on what is real and what is important for me, and what should I really consider doing the business here. And also, I should mention, we looked into the obstacles when we did this analysis. There are, of course, many powers, or how would you call them, that actually brings companies together and brings them over the board. I mean, you can do a lot of business, you can make money. Copenhagen, is a great market, it's a capital, it's close by. If you have a network in the other country, you will probably get new customers and new assignments and new deals. So, and also differences in culture can actually help. Now this is in the other direction from what you might be interested in. But as the consultant market is bigger in Sweden, it could be an advantage for Danish consultants that might want to go to Sweden, for example. So, as Hanna mentioned earlier, there's a lot of Swedish companies exporting to Denmark. So don't be afraid. And with that, I would like to invite Richard Mosell to the stage. Welcome, Richard. You're here today to talk about, or you have the hat of Exportcentrum Skåne today. And by now, I think that many of the companies listening have started to think, how could we do this? Maybe it's interesting, and you're here to talk a little bit about where to start. And would you please start with telling us a bit about what Exportcentrum Skåne is and how you can help companies?
Yes, Exportcentrum Skåne it's actually an initiative and a collaboration between Region Skåne and the Swedish growth agency. And in Swedish that's called Tillväxtverket. So it's part of the national strategy of promoting and kind of strengthen the Swedish companies to go abroad. Not only for the big companies, it's actually they want it all over. So even small and medium-sized companies should kind of look into this opportunity. And the platform is initiated, as I said, between Region Skåne and the Swedish Growth Agency, but the actors here in the platform in the southern part of Sweden is ALMI. It's Business Sweden, where I come from, where I work on a daily basis. It's Enterprise Europe Network, EEN, it's shortened for that, and EKN, and that's Exportkreditnämnden. And I think the English version is Export Credit Board. I think that's the translation. Yeah. And then we have Invest in Skåne. So it's 5 partners who work together, and on the regular times we host seminars and information and so on to kind of get a better understanding about how it is to go international. Mm-hmm. With your company. So yeah, and I can continue. If we just go into the different actors, if we could start with it's not that many, especially small companies, that know about the Exportkreditnämnden, that they actually can help you to, if you send an invoice in the export deal, they can actually ensure that you get paid. So do you work together with banks and ALMI and Exportkreditnämnden, and then you can take off some risk in the actual deal. And I think, as you said before here, it's one of the first things you start to think about the risks and instead of thinking about the benefits. And I think Exportkreditnämnden is such an organization that you should actually contact to start doing some business and make some small deals, and then take it from there, grow it from there. Mm. Then we have, of course, Business Sweden, and then as Anders said from GetAccept, you don't always have to use Business Sweden, but you, as he said, you save some time, because it's a vast organization with 50 offices around the globe. And have all kinds of experience when it comes to internationalization, so you can get help to set up a go-to-market strategy, to actually contact end customers together with the Business Sweden staff at the actual office. And so you can kind of get traction through Business Sweden and really do the homework when it comes to how much will it cost, how long time will it take, how many employees do I need to continue try to grow on this market. And there are also ALMI, as I mentioned before, ALMI Företagspartner, that's the long Swedish name for it. And ALMI has they have different finance products they can contribute with, especially if you want to kind of have a loan to make this kind of attempt going to a foreign market. You need some more funding into your company. Then they have some products that really emphasize you to go abroad. but they have also skilled employees that can give you a lot of advice when it comes to export, when it comes to sustainability and innovation and so on. So it's not just a financing institute, it's actually some really good advice as well. And then we have Enterprise Europe Network. And Enterprise Europe Network is today you're building international value chains. And sometimes you have to kind of add on some new features in your value chain, and they actually host a big database where they can link you together with the subcontractors or other representatives in foreign markets in Europe, and they also can explain how the EU laws are actually working in your vertical in your field. And also sometimes give you some hints on where to find funding in different kind of how do you say that? Utlysningar in English. Yes, calls, different calls or something like that.
Yeah, we'll leave it. Leave it at that.
And then Invest in Skåne is they actually promote this region to source investment into this region, but they also are out there on international exhibitions. Not now when it's COVID-19, but they are out there, and sometimes you can piggyback on their activities to, if you want to address a certain market where they're going to have an activity. So they're both outbound and inbound together with them. So that's pretty much the platform that goes under Exportcentrum seed. Yeah, but then of course there are a network, an ecosystem here in the south of Sweden. So as Ola said from the incubator, there are several people in the staff there who has international experience. So I think the first and foremost, you have to think the thought that we can actually sell our product and service to a foreign market, and then it's actually to execution, as Anders said at GetAccept. Start to make the first small deals close up to your home market and take it from there.
Mm-hmm. And there is something called expert checks, right?
Yes, right now this platform, it's actually different kinds of initiatives that comes from the government and the ministries up in Stockholm. Sometimes they source this kind of utlysningar or calls, and they channel it through different kinds of authorities, and one platform is this one. So at times there are some really great benefits to if you want to try out. It could be a certain country that there's a bilateral agreement between, for example, Sweden and France, and then there can come up a initiative that says that if you want to go to France, here's some good calls, and you will get some funding from the government. So keep an eye on this platform. Is really good because then you can get hold of different kind of important seminars, but also real funding to go abroad. And that goes for this platform, but it goes also for the different incubators, authorities, and Vinnova, etc.
Mm-hmm. So if you have a company and you want to enter the Danish market, where do you start? How do you do?
I think I refer to you and your speak here, but also Anders at GetAccept, and I think we are so keen to underline the differences between the countries, but I think it's actually just from person to person. So I think it's actually just to dare to contact the same as you contact the Swedish customer, to just identify and contact a Danish customer and get going. If you do, and if you then feel that you get some traction, then of course you can do a proper work. You can go to an organization like Business Sweden and map up different segments and kind of map up what kind of activities you're going to do, and of course a budget, because usually when you start to go into a country, it takes a little bit longer time than you presumed, and it costs a little bit more. So if you have some kind of a budget in your head that you're going to invest this much, and it will not jeopardize your main business, I think it's you don't have to hesitate. It's just go for it. When it comes to Denmark, I'm pretty confident that it's easier than we think.
And if you're a small company and you might not have the resources, maybe to do a market analysis, as you mentioned and Hanna talked about before, is it impossible then? Or do you still have a chance?
No, it's I have in the family, we have a business, and it's a small business producing chemicals for restaurants and hotels and so on. And it's the company has never made a thorough market plan or something like that. It actually has gone along kind of serendipity. When you get the contact, when you meet some people with the right mindset and so on, then you take that opportunity. So today this company has a revenue of 45 million Swedish krona. 45 million Swedish krona, and they export to 10 countries, and they haven't, with a good profit, and they haven't had any actually plan to go abroad. On the other hand, the company has been very, very strict about in the negotiations and the agreements. So you really, in the agreements with the customer, you really assess what kind of risk, and it's free between the parties to actually swing the risk between each other. And so be careful when you look into the agreements and swing it to your favor in the beginning. So you really understand the risk that you expose your company for. But otherwise, I think is you can do it that way as well.
You talked a bit about, when I talked to you earlier on, that you might want to consider how much you go into Denmark with for the first time. How much, what part of your company you
Yes, the example I have in mind when I talk about this chemical company, then actually the first market wasn't Denmark, it was the Netherlands. It's very close to Denmark, so, and a similar culture and so on. But then of course we looked really carefully into the agreements, and we also kind of made an estimate that will we get a full swing and this will ramp up, then it's going to maybe be around 5% of the revenue, of the total revenue of the company. So then we're kind of limited and understand the risk, but also we see that, okay, if we get 5% in revenue from the Netherlands, if we go to Norway next, then we get another 5%, and then we can add on because we have the infrastructure, the production facilities. So it's quite nice to have a larger return of investment, because that's something you have already invested in, and to enlarge the market makes it more profitable, the company, and it makes it also possible to reinvest and to enlarge the production. So it's a wheel, spinning wheel.
I see.
Yeah.
I would also like to ask what difference it makes in the size of the company and the industry, and do you think?
Yes, the larger your company is, then I think you need to, because you have so many stakeholders in the company, so you have to think about the investors, you have to think about the board and so on. So you can't just have a feeling in the guts that says that, yeah, we should go to France and we should especially go to Paris because we have a lot of customers there. You have to kind of show the stakeholders in the company that you have thought it through, you have a strategy, you have evaluated different options before you go for this investment, because it's usually a larger amount of money. So if you are, it could be 10 or 20 million Swedish krona or something like that. And then of course you have to have a good list of arguments why you are going for a certain market. While you are a small company, you are close to a startup, maybe you're about to scale up. And especially if you own your company yourself, you have the majority yourself, then it's actually often up to yourself and the gut feeling if you want to take a step or not, or what kind of risk you want to do. So, but in this environment here on Ideon, most of the companies has some investors and so on, and the investors and the stakeholders and the partners, they won't accept the gut feeling. You have to have some concrete proof of why you are doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I can imagine. Now we actually have a question from the chat. So somebody wondering if there are any open calls for Denmark right now when it comes to these kinds of export checks.
No, I think because usually you allocate a budget for these kind of initiatives for every year, and now we are at fall, the last months of the year, and usually the budget has ran out. But I think it's a superb time to contact this platform, because probably there will be some new initiatives just a few months ahead, and then you have the contact, you know who to talk to, you know also where to find the information, so you can apply if you want to go to Denmark. And then alongside, there are also there are, if we talk about Business Sweden, there are some activities we can do within Business Sweden that give a smaller company a discount. So if we do a market analysis in Denmark or somewhere else, then you can get a heavy discount if you are a small company, and that's something also that can be discussed from case to case. So I think to just tap into the platform, get a contact person, and a little bit describe your venture, and then we can find a good solution, especially if you're a smaller company.
So use the opportunities that you have.
Yes.
Simply.
And you can also you can find that kind of money, early seed money from universities. You can find them at calls at Vinnova, and then you can use that kind of funding to engage. It could be a Chamber of Commerce, it could be Business Sweden, it could be some other consultants to get going and to get some support.
Sounds great. Thank you very much, Rickard. I don't see any more chat questions at the moment, but it's not too late. You can continue to ask and we'll get back to Rickard in that case. But for now, thank you very much. And now it's actually time for a break to grab a coffee or stretch a bit. So we'll meet again in 10 minutes and then we will get to hear a little bit more about the hard things. Might be the hard things when you're going across the border. What about the legal aspects, tax, VAT? Some valuable information we'll get after the break. Also, we'll learn more about how to get into networks with some interesting projects. So, see you again in 10 minutes. Bye for now. Welcome back after the break. I hope you had enjoyed your coffee or tea or whatever. We actually have you still here, Rickard, with us, yes. Because we got a question for you that we didn't have time to answer before the break. And the question is, would you please tell us more about your executive plan for developing your network in Business Sweden?
It's not a simple question, but if I'm going to try to answer that question, is that we are reorganizing Business Sweden right now. So we have putting a little bit more effort into the around 50 offices we have on the most important markets around the globe, and we will try to highlight these offices in a better way, so Swedish companies and organizations can take a contact with these offices directly. Also, we are organizing us around a few ecosystems and in certain verticals, so life science, mobility, and digital technologies and so on. And then we will work in these ecosystems closer together with the universities, with companies, with institutes, with the different regions in Sweden, and cooperate in a larger scale than we have done previous. So that's an overfly and overall. This is still ongoing. We are working with the details. But it's concrete that we will put more efforts into to cooperate with the different authorities and the ecosystem we see in Sweden. Yeah.
All right. So thank you once again, and you might come back even one more time. We'll see.
Yeah. I'm looking forward
if there are more questions from you. But now we are moving on because by now you know a lot about doing your business in Denmark, and you might have been inspired and you're thinking about it, but there are some more things that are vital to know. And therefore, we have with us Annie Bohr, Director of Tax, and Maria Fischer-Riesmøller, Senior VAT Manager from BDO Copenhagen, both of them. And you're here to talk about taxation, VAT, and legal aspects. So very welcome, and please tell us more about this.
Okay, thank you. I'm Annie Bohr. I'm a tax director in the accounting firm BDO in Copenhagen. I'm dealing with international tax issues for foreign companies who are going to establish in Denmark. And at the same time, we have a team here in BDO Denmark, where I am a member of that team regarding doing business in Denmark. Maria Riesmøller is a member as well. She can present her in a minute. And also we have an auditor and somebody from our business services in Denmark who can help foreign companies who are going to establish in Denmark. So you can say that we can make the full package for all the foreign companies. And after this, we have a video which we will show you. And I think that everyone is going to open that video to hear the sound of the video, not sound of music, but sound of the video in a minute. So perhaps Maria can also say a few words.
Yes, hello, my name is Maria Rismøller. As Annie mentioned, I'm working in BDO in the Copenhagen office as well. I'm dealing with all sorts of VAT-related questions. Actually, I have been working with VAT for more than 10 years now. I started as an internal VAT consultant in a big international company. So my background is also about VAT in financial systems, and also the low practical approach in terms of implementing VAT rules in financial systems and implement the rules in processes, daily processes. So this is a really big advance for me to understand the issues that the companies are having when they are approaching us. So I think I will start with sharing the slides that we have. If that's okay, Anna?
That's okay.
Perfect. Let me see if I can share it. Okay, so Anna, can you just confirm that you can see your slides?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can
you
see.
could put them on so we can see the whole picture.
I can see the whole picture.
It's okay.
Okay. I cannot see that I can extend it in any way. I can see the whole picture here. So Annie, could you please start?
Yeah, but I think that we should just start the video. Everybody to attend the video.
You can find the video in the chat.
Doing business in Denmark. The world is more connected now than ever before through cross-border trade in goods and services, technology, and the traveling of people and information. BDO Denmark provides a one-stop shop to foreign enterprises who prefer a one-point contact when setting up a compliant business in Denmark. BDO is already assisting multiple foreign enterprises, including construction, sales, international payroll providers, and law firms. We offer a full-service one-stop shop to foreign companies doing business in Denmark, advise on taxation, transfer pricing, and VAT treatments, formation of limited liability companies, and opening of branches, including initial support, such as assistance with NemID and eBox, business services and outsourcing, including bookkeeping, payroll, and VAT filing, and last but not least, audit and accounting. BDO Global have one of the world's best international networks and has won several prizes. Therefore, BDO Denmark can offer you both local presence as well as international reach. Contact BDO now to hear more.
We cannot hear you, Annie.
So that was the video. And what I can say is that we have a very strong cooperation with BDO in Sweden. And we have had a lot of cases within the last couple of years where Swedish companies is going to establish in Denmark. And what we can say is that we ask the individuals from the foreign company to have a phone call in the very beginning, just to have information regarding the activities who is going to be performed in Denmark, and how many employees is going to be seconded from Sweden to Denmark, or whether you want to hire local people in Denmark. We can also provide a tax advice to the individuals, because we have experience in the Øresund agreement between Sweden and Denmark, and we can also provide advice regarding driving in a company car, in a Swedish company car, or what you might need. In respect of permanent establishment or the kind of corporate forms we have here in Denmark, it depends on what the Swedish company would like to establish in Denmark, because we have several kind of possibilities to establish in Denmark. We have a limited liability company called an AS, where the share capital is 400,000 Danish kroner. That is for medium-sized and large companies who's going to make an establishment in Denmark. We have for smaller business an APS, where the share capital is 40,000 Danish kroner. We have the possibility to establish a branch of the Swedish company, or simply a non-Danish company can be registered with a PE, a permanent establishment in Denmark, or no PE in Denmark. So in the initial call, we simply ask the company, what activities do you want in Denmark? For how long period are you going to establish in Denmark? How many customers do you have in Denmark, or customers outside Denmark? So we can gather all that kind of information. Then we also in BDO have transfer pricing specialist regarding allocation of income if an entity is going to be established in Denmark. And then we have VAT specialist, Maria.
Yes, I'm also in the call, and the reason why I'm in the call and a part of this step one, the initial step, is because one of the circumstances you need to consider when having activities in Denmark is whether you would need to register for VAT purposes or not. During my time in BDO, I have seen many companies having activities in Denmark and therefore register for VAT purpose in Denmark with actually no obligation to do so. And that could have huge financial impact for the company if they register for VAT in Denmark and charge VAT without even being obliged to do so. So this is something that we really need to consider, or the company needs to consider in the step one. Do we really need to register for VAT purposes in Denmark or not? And if we do, what kind of transactions are subject to VAT? Very overall, one of the triggering points or the circumstances which could trigger an obligation to register for VAT in Denmark is either if you have a VAT PE. A VAT PE is not the same as a tax PE, which a lot of people think, but they're two different things. A VAT PE can be constituted if you have permanent human and technical resources being able to solely supply the goods and the services in Denmark without involvement from the company in the establishment country, in this case in Sweden. You can also be obliged to register for VAT purposes in Denmark if you are buying services or goods or selling services or goods where you has to account for Danish VAT or Danish acquisition VAT. So there are a number of circumstances which could result in the fact that you have to register for VAT in Denmark, but it has to be assessed, because if you don't fulfill these circumstances, or these circumstances does not exist and you don't have to register for VAT, then actually you cannot register for VAT, and the Danish tax authorities would most likely close down the VAT registration if they come to the conclusion that you should not register for VAT in Denmark. We actually had a case very recent where I was involved. It was a Swedish company who came to us and said, we're going to have one employee located in Denmark. This employee is going to have a lot of customer contact. He's hired because he's going to see if he can capture some customers for the Danish market. Very overall, this Swedish company were supplying online services to VAT liable customers in Denmark and in the Nordic. The company thought that due to the fact that this person was placed in Denmark and was working from his home office in Denmark, that the company had to register for VAT. And I actually came to the conclusion that they should not register for VAT because his presence in Denmark was not sufficient to argue that the company had a VAT PE in Denmark. So there you can see that, again, this company also thought that they should register for VAT in Denmark, and without our involvement, they would most likely do. But luckily, we got involved in this, and we got involved from the beginning and said, oh, wait, we just need to assess this because we don't believe that you should register, and they shouldn't, and they're not registered for VAT. So just very overall, this is a really important step in the initial analysis that we also assess whether the company should register for VAT in Denmark or not. Should we continue to the second step, Annie?
Yes, I think so. Yes, when we have had this initial call with the client, we can also offer to make the registration of the legal entity, whether or not the foreign company would like to establish a limited company or a branch or a non-Danish company. We can, of course, assist you in the registration as employer registration for VAT and so on. And our business support department can make this activation of NemID, easy account, access to digital mailbox, access to e-filing system, etc. And also our payroll department can set up the payroll and set up the bookkeeping, so we can help the client all over from the very beginning, and also this legal and business support. Yeah.
Yes, I just have a few further comments to this as well, because as you can see, we spoke about step 1 before, this is step 2. So what's important for us is also to highlight that when we have done the initial assessments of identifying whether the company should register for VAT and tax and so on, then we go to step 2 where we say, okay, so we have registered you, and then you need to also understand what are the Danish requirements. In Denmark, we have this, as Annie also mentioned, a digital mailbox. So whenever you have a company number or a CVR number in Denmark, you are actually obliged to access your digital mailbox. This may seem like small things, but it's really important because these are, for instance, the digital mailbox. This is the way the Danish tax authorities and the business authorities are communicating with this new registration. So it is important for us also to lead the companies to understand that there are some registrations that they have to do after the company has been registered, and that happens in the step 2.
Yeah. And step 3, it is simply the ongoing compliance. When the foreign company has been registered in Denmark, we need to make a monthly bookkeeping and the VAT reporting, the payroll reporting, etc. On annual, we need to prepare the financial statement and to calculate the taxable income to be sent to the tax authorities within 6 months after year end. So, yeah.
Exactly. And also just to put a comment on the VAT part, because this is the part that I'm involved in. Since I have been involved in the beginning, in the initial step with the client, I know exactly what kind of transaction there will be on the VAT return. And if these particular transactions are not added to the VAT return, it's much easier for me to say, oh, we had an initial discussion about you supplying goods in Denmark. Why can I not see those transactions on the Danish VAT return? So there is like a red string between step 1, step 2, and step 3, where step 3 is the ongoing compliance. And since we have been involved since step 1, we're able to make sure that the compliance is treated correctly and with the correct transactions.
Yeah, I think it was our words for now. So I don't know if there is any questions. Will you close down this, Maria?
Yes, indeed. I'm not an IT expert, which is why I have a few issues.
I think you can find it on the top.
Yeah, I cannot see it.
Stop sharing. On the top of your screen.
Yeah, there's nothing here, but it's... That's strange. I see one in the bottom called meeting control, but I cannot get into it. Oh, maybe it's because I have two screens here. Okay, I think I got it now.
Yeah, great. I have a question for you. Actually, you said that, for example, if you register for VAT and you don't have to, it can be combined with costs. And also, if you make a mistake in other parts of this, what can it cost the company to make these kinds of mistakes?
If I should answer this, I can give you an example. For instance, if the company is registering for VAT in Denmark and they're not obliged to do so, and they have a lot of input VAT, if they're for instance, is renting an office in Denmark or renting a car in Denmark, and other office costs with VAT, and they deduct that VAT on the Danish VAT return, and the Danish tax authorities later on says, well, we don't agree in you being obliged to register for VAT, then the conclusion would be that the company would have to pay back the VAT that they deducted on the VAT return. And depending on the size of the input amount that they reclaimed, it could be a huge amount. So this is why I'm saying that it's really, really important that you do this assessment, because it could have financial impact for the companies.
Yes, perhaps I can add something. If the foreign company is going to be registered as an employer in Denmark, but they do not in fact have any employees in Denmark, then you will have to make a zero every month. If not, you can have a penalty of 800 kroner per month for not having registered a zero, because you have no withholding obligation in that situation. So it's very important that you register correct. Yeah.
And you mentioned before that you can follow the company from start and further on. What's the benefits of this?
It is because we simply know everything about the company, about the number of employees, whether or not they're going to be seconded from Sweden to Denmark, or whether they're going to be locally hired. We also have to consider the social security legislation, because it is quite different in Sweden compared to Denmark. So we know that if it's simply a locally employed person in Denmark, we don't have to consider the Swedish social security. But if you second an employee from Sweden to work in Denmark, or perhaps to live in Denmark, we have to consider whether or not you are going to apply for an A1 in Sweden for the person to be still covered by the Swedish social security legislation and not the Danish one. So we know that's from the very beginning what you are going to do, and that could be very advanced for the company. Yeah.
Yes, that were the questions from me, and so far we haven't got any questions from the audience, but you still have the chance, so think about it and get back if you want to know more about tax and VAT from Maria and Annie.
Okay.
And now I would like to welcome our next guest in the studio. We have Niklas Najafi, founder and CEO at Nayel. Please have a seat.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. It's never good to follow tax and legal people, and especially not hearing what they're saying. So I hope I don't.
It makes you nervous, right?
Exactly. I was thinking of a Shaggy quote. It wasn't me. Yeah.
You are the founder, as I said, of Nayel, and you are it's about baby supplies. Am I correct? Will you tell me a bit about your company?
We produce design and produce products for becoming a new parent. We have a parent focus, but of course all these products are used with and for babies. But, yeah.
Okay. Tell us about your company. When did you start? What do you do?
We founded the company in 2012. When we came up with the idea behind our first product, the sleep carrier, which is a smarter baby nest. The idea is to be able to put a child to sleep and put it down and or move it around without waking it up. So it fits in all strollers. You can have it in your crib, or you can use it for co-sleeping as well. And it folds out as a playmat, and I can give you the full sales pitch here.
Maybe in the end.
Exactly. It's a great product, and it's really, really strong in Denmark.
Mm-hmm. And you are, because you're here, we know that you're in the Danish market, but how did it start? How did you come up with the idea? Did you find it hard to? We
didn't come up with the idea. That's the great thing about it. We got contacted by Danish customers. So what we did, we were building our online platform and our Instagram account, and then we started getting calls from Danish retailers who wanted to stock us and to sell our products in Denmark. So, and this was probably in 2015-16 when we started getting these requests from the Danish market. So we were not actively pursuing the Danish market or any other markets for that either.
So it was a bit of a chance.
Yeah, like we work a lot on the demand side to create a demand for our products so that the public will want to have our products for themselves and their children entering parenthood. So that's the core focus of what we're doing. And then we have a high belief that customers, the retailers and distributors and this type of partners will come.
Mm-hmm. And when you got that distributor in Denmark, how familiar were you with the Danish markets? Did you do any research or?
No, not really. At first it was retailers. Normal retailers, so no distributors in the beginning, and that started growing, and we got more and more, and we saw also that some of our Swedish customers were selling quite a lot into Denmark, and then later we found, or we were found by a Danish distributor as well. But we didn't do any special market research, which is probably good to do market research, but we didn't, and still haven't, more than looking what other people are doing and stuff like that.
How does it work to have a distributor in Denmark? Is it any different from in Sweden?
We don't work with distributors in Sweden, but generally I'd say it's all type of business, this is my experience at least, is that it's people driven, so it's not nationality driven. So depending on who your partner is, they will act a lot in different ways. So the person that you're in, or the company that you're working with, is much more important than what nationality they have. And this comes for, like, we are in 20 something markets, and I think this is the same everywhere. Mm-hmm. Personality and company size and this type of things matter more.
Mm-hmm. So do you see any differences between the Danish market and the Swedish?
There's lots of differences between Sweden and Denmark, but I'd say that most of them are oriented around how our sector is organized. In Sweden, it's becoming a little bit more that we have chains here in Sweden, but otherwise it's individual shops that are buying. But in Denmark, it's much more centrally handled, with 3 big players dominating the Danish market. So I think that is the biggest difference. And so it's the same here in Sweden. When the retailers get bigger, they have higher demands on you as a supplier, and it's the same effect that we see in Denmark. On the customer side, it's a little bit different, like the parents, where it's quite a lot of quite a big difference in how you like handle a child in Denmark and Sweden. It's in Denmark, it's quite common that you leave the stroller outside with the baby sleeping in if you're going inside to have a coffee. Mm-hmm. Where in Sweden, that's almost grant for Socialstyrelsen to contact you and have a discussion.
So how did you fit into the Danish culture then?
For us, it's been quite lucky. Without knowing, there's a very big demand on what Danes call a baby lift, which is our sleep carrier can function as. So there's been quite a big demand for a flexible type of baby lift, like it's like a soft carry cot product, and with strollers traditionally being very, very big in Denmark, they are slowly adjusting to becoming smaller, and then there's also the bigger need for smaller and more flexible baby lifts as well, or carry cots. So we fit in great in Denmark, and they also appreciate our design and like how we communicate and the look and feel of our products. Mm-hmm. So it's in Denmark, we're on a lot of like must-have lists, which is great, because becoming a parent, you look for advice everywhere.
Of course. Do you see any differences in corporate cultures? We've been discussing a bit through the day.
Not really. I think it's there's always a little bit maybe, but I think company size is a bigger difference maker. Like, and who owns the company, and like what does this company, what targets does this company have? Is it primarily an online, or is it primarily is it a membership organization that is actually owned by the independent shop owners? Like things like this matter much more, I think, than nationality when it comes to corporate culture. Because of course, like venture capitalist firms with strong central management are run completely different than a local retailer, and so I think that's the biggest difference, rather than nationality.
Mm. And now you're taking over yourself. You won't have a distributor in Denmark anymore.
Yes.
Well, why and how will it work?
Yeah. Why is, of course, a complicated discussion that I won't
okay,
go
maybe
into
we'll
completely
go into
today.
that, but how will it work from now on?
So we are finishing off the collaboration with our Danish distributor on the last of October, and it will be quite a big milestone for us because we will be handling sales to all our retailers in Denmark by ourselves. So right now we're finishing off negotiations with all major retailers. So we're expecting to see quite a big growth because working with a distributor, it's always complicated because they'll have multiple brands in their portfolio, and always when they come talk to a retailer, they have to choose like which foot muff should they advocate the most, which is the best, and that can be preference driven or it can be margin driven, depending on the distributor. And now that we're taking over, like all like we will be able to have a complete presentation of what we do and no filters, and really try to push the entire brand and get more of our products out to the Danish customers, and not just have one or two bestsellers like we do right now, and get more of our great products out there.
Okay. Thinking back, now you got into Denmark, and it was a bit of a challenge as we talked about, but looking back, is there anything that you would have done differently now, or that you did maybe very right the first time?
No, I think I don't think I would have changed anything like drastically. There's smaller things, of course, being prepared, like in the Danes as people. Swedes are getting there, but Danes are very fond of asking for tilbud always. So like, what deal can you do? And that's from like private consumers all the way to retailers and distributors as well. And this got annoying in the beginning because Swedes generally don't ask for discounts. They accept the price list as it is. Swedes are getting there and trying to learn how to become better köpmän. But I think being mentally prepared for that, and of course adjusting how you set prices and stuff, things like this, so that you can handle that discussion. Because if your price list is set so that you can't afford to give any tilbud, then you're probably in trouble.
Okay, higher your prices a bit.
Generally, it's a general advice.
Okay.
Charge more if you can.
Do you have any other advice for the companies listening today, if they want to do the same?
I think looking at like how, because we are percentage-wise, we are a much stronger brand in Denmark than in Sweden. But I think the big difference there is when we entered Sweden back in 2014 and started, like our branding was crap because we were just like figuring out how to do things, and things were not looking so nice. The photo material that we had was not up to par, and like the whole structure of how we did things was not so nice. But when we entered Denmark, everything looked much better, and that I think allowed us to have like a much better start, because like the parents that we were in touch with in 2014-15 in Sweden got one image of what we were as a brand, where the Danes in 2016 and forward were getting a completely different brand. And this is this business that we're in is a very big snowball, because you ask your friends and family members what they liked and if the branding is there from the beginning, I think we have a much higher chance of growing faster. So I think that's a big thing. So get your branding in place.
Okay. It doesn't seem as we have any questions from the audience just yet, but you should hurry if you want to ask Niklas anything. But for now, I would say thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
And,
my pleasure. I hope the Danish tax authorities don't hunt me.
I think they did. Well, Now I'm checking the questions. Now we're moving on to our last part, actually, where we're going to meet some interesting network and learn about projects that are crossing the Øresund with both companies and other partners, both in Sweden and Denmark. And the first of these two is Science for Society. Anna-Sofie Bramsen-Dahlman, you've already told us a bit about your project, but please let us know more, and also how the companies listening can benefit from joining you if they'd like to do that.
Yes, hello again. And I've been moving around a bit since we spoke last time. I have moved into our sandbox area in the kitchen, our new innovation hub at Aarhus University, to give you kind of an impression of how you could benefit from actually using the facilities that we have here through the Science for Society project. So I'll just give you a very short tour, and now I'm talking loud here in the room where everybody can sit. A minute ago it was filled with companies, startup companies, but lunchtime has begun. So they're moving around. But as a startup company in the region, or any company around Denmark or Sweden, you can actually access this area. It was the former hospital kitchen, but now it has been rebuilt into a innovation hub. Downstairs we have a lovely cafe where you can have meetings. We have a playground area where you can host events, or you can just use it as a lounge area to sit here if you need a base in Aarhus. As we heard before, Anders has just settled in an office in Aarhus. But if you're not there yet, and if you want to test this area or have a base for meetings a few days, you can sit here. Behind me you see meeting boxes, and in here next to me we have the staff room. That was the former room for cold cuts in the kitchen. This is the area where we do have researchers collaborating with companies, and in the other area, I'm trying to go backwards here, we have a large conference room that you can book if you want to have conferences. Right now we're hosting an event on IP rights and non-disclosure agreements. Over here we have the bus room. This is a meeting room. We just hosted a few board meetings this morning for companies. One from the university, a spin-out company, and the other one was a company in Aarhus. Nothing to do with the university as such, but they use this space just as you can actually do. So you're free to come here and just use the facilities. We would of course love you to get in contact with us before you enter, because then we are able to actually give you some sufficient help. I am moving a bit around to show you that in this corner in the back of these areas, we do have different advisors. We have investors, we have seed capital, we have private investors, we have legal advisors, and other kind of advisors that you can freely use if you want to get in contact with Danish versions of these. Yes, I'm back in the meeting room. It's called the Raw meeting room. It's a rather raw building still. Science for Society is funded from Interreg. They started funding a 3-year period where we focused on entrepreneurial training and creating a best Nordic entrepreneurial training for researchers. After the 3 years, they encouraged us to broaden the project and focus more on SMEs, on startups, and that's what we're doing now. We are in the first period of that extended project. It will last 3 years, and we opened up our workshops and our trainings for everybody who has the need, and especially if you are a startup or an SME in the region of southern Sweden and Denmark. So as I just showed you, you can access all the facilities that we have here in Aarhus, but you can also access the training that we do have. We offer training such as collaboration planning. What do you do if you're a researcher and want to collaborate with industry. What do you do if you're a company and want to get in touch with research, if you need new knowledge and stuff like that to develop your products or your markets. We offer business model training. We offer courses, seminars in IP rights, the NDA workshop that we are hosting today, for instance, pitch training, funding, and a lot of other stuff. You can find that on our webpage. But we also offer companies and startups to actually get in touch with Danish students who could be interested in internships. We have a bunch of them sitting here in the house, working with their whatever they have of tools and knowledge that they can bring into a company or a startup company. We can connect you to the Danish or the Aarhus University job site if you want to post student jobs and stuff like that to get in contact with the Danish market. We can connect you to students that wants to do assignments for companies. We have a very nice collaboration with our business and social science faculty. And then they always need cases. And they conduct analysis such as design thinking, customer discovery, or market analysis for the companies. So that's actually an opportunity for a Danish or a Swedish startup or a Swedish SMEs to access these courses too, and to bring their company in as a case. Then we also do have quite a lot of mentors or experienced people from the Danish industry world who wants to be a network for new or smaller companies and help them grow. So if you need a Danish mentor, if you need some specific competences or knowledge, we would be very happy to connect you to these competences. We do have among all the Danish universities actually a very nice network with more than 100 experienced entrepreneurs or business and industry persons who really want to be activated to help and to be part of advisory boards or boards and stuff like that. I saw in the chat form we had a question of how do you get in touch with the first Danish member of your advisory board or something like that. Well, you could contact us and let us know what kind of profile you are searching for. And of course, we can't promise you anything, but we can try to reach out in the very large network that we do have. Yes, so one of the ways to get a foot into the Danish market is to use the facilities that we have here, to use the different services and programs that we provide through the Science for Society project. I think that would be the introduction as now, but I'm happy to answer any question.
Sounds really interesting, actually. Oh, of course. So you can actually, this market analysis that were discussed before, that might be a possibility to get that through you then and the students, if you were willing to accept that.
Yes, what we see is that the startup, and oftentimes it's early startups that bring in their company as a case in these the courses that the students have. So it's kind of a first taste of a market analysis in Denmark, but they are advised from the lecturer or from the professor. So they're not doing just whatever, they're actually doing a great job. So the first little market analysis before you throw a lot of money of having a company doing so, or you spend a lot of time on your own to do so, it can be a nice taste. Of course, it's still just a student's assignment, but it's a very nice first step to see is there anything going on here that you could use for your company.
Yeah, it seems like a great opportunity, and you'll be there for everybody who's listening to contact. But now I think we should move on to our next project, which is all about light. Yes, so welcome Fredrik Malmberg, project coordinator for Lighting Metropolis.
That's correct.
Yes. What is it? What is lighting?
Lighting Metropolis is... you want to hear me too? I just want to hear my own voice. No, but I can share it with all you guys here. Lighting Metropolis is a metropolis of light. We want to be the world leading center for light and create new jobs, prosperity, and something like that based on light, because light can give so much. With the right light, you can become smarter, eat healthier, less waste. We have tons of good ideas we do with light. We've been doing this for about 3 years. And now the next step is to start a community with this and so.
Mm-hmm. So how do you work with light?
I work with light in so many different ways. We look at light, it's more like a light sources. We look at not the cost, that like something we can use. We can get better school results. We get fewer fall incidents and something like that. But to do that, we need to work as teams like Triple Helix. We have universities and we have the cities in Eastern Denmark and Skåne and so. So we have cities that want to buy new solutions and we help them develop it with the researchers and the society, with the businesses and so.
Yes, and I think actually in the chat, I think that you will find some information about this that Lotta is sharing.
Is Lotta sharing? Yeah.
Yeah, she's sharing. So just look in the chat and you can see some of the municipalities and also some examples there. You mentioned you had a community.
Yes, we have a community with companies that work with light. And it's not, yes, there is companies that work with just light, but there's also working with light as cleaning water, making plants grow better, getting safer roads, feeling safer outside. Lights is a little bit everywhere. So we are looking for more companies that want to join us. And the first thing I would say, we don't have any money, but we have customers with money and needs. So from real needs, you can develop your products, your solutions, you can hire more people. This will be something really interesting. And often it's just seeing is believing. Like so we develop new things and people say, this is a good idea based on light. And then we can use that.
Mm-hmm. You told us before that actually there have been examples of customers and clients and companies meeting each other through you.
Yes. And we actually, the press release went out the other day. We have one company in our community. We have several. It's a Swedish company called Brainlit. And what they are doing, they actually got the order now for the hospital in Helsingborg, building 2 whole departments with light, and it's to do less sick leave. Because if you have the right light, you're more alert in the day, you sleep better at night. And if you work night shifts, you can sit in with something called the light shower. So with 15 minutes in this light, you change your circadian rhythm. So you don't need coffee. So actually you become smarter, more alert. So then they have less sick days and we can show this. And we also asked, what is the value to this Region Skåne? Is that, well, a sick day costs between 3,000 and 6,000 crowns per day. So here is money to be saved by just changing to the light. But okay, we do other stuff too, but it's one of the main impacts. So they're changing the light the whole time.
Mm-hmm. So if I have a company and I want to join your community, how do I do it?
If you have a company, you can contact me. You can go to our webpage, lightingmetropolis.com, and sign up there. If you have a company, should be there, contact me and I contact them or something like that. So it's very easy to get. The only limitation is you have to be in the Greater Copenhagen area. Greater Copenhagen area means Eastern Denmark, Skåne or Halland. So if you are situated there or have business there, you're welcome to join. If you join, we have customers for you, but we also have educations and we tailor-made educations for you. We see what needs do you have, etc. And so far we had done pitch training, sales strategies, all sorts of things that companies, and of course we have light educations too, because we have those universities that can explain what is light and what isn't light, something like that. So it's a very cool gang and it's always fun to meet them and see what has happened since last time and so.
And then you'll meet companies from Denmark as well and exchange experiences and so on. Do you have anything to show from the project already?
Yes, actually we work with, as we say, Triple Helix. So we go and ask the users, what is the need you have? And we had this school in Ideon in Denmark, and they had a problem. They wanted the kids at the school, you want to have bike helmets. And so I said, yes, we want people to have bike helmets. Can you solve it with light? Of course you can.
Yeah.
So we go and talk to all these kids, and what do you want in return if you have a bike helmet? And one of these kids said, I want to see the dangerous animals from Africa. Light Africa animals. Of course we take that. So we put sensors in the helmet. So when you're biking on this bike path up to the school, the sensors know you're there, and then they light up these animals, but they are just a black thing otherwise if you don't have it. I'm not sure, do you have the picture there?
The picture should be in the chat.
Yeah, so this is what you see if you have the bike helmet on. There comes up lions, all sorts of things. But if you don't have the bike helmet on, it's just going to be pitch black. So if you have the helmet on, you're going to see all these other things. And so that's one thing we actually did. But we do so many other things too, so with light. So it's very inspiring and something like that. And I hope to find some more inspiring companies from being here today.
Thank you very much. I'll just check here on my computer to see if we have any questions.
I love questions.
From the chat. So please ask questions now. You have the chance. I'll ask one more. It's a project, right? For how long are you still going on?
We have done half of our project. It's called Lighting Metropolis Green Economy. We've done halfway, so we have 1.5 more year. And so now the communities start to grow and the cities start to get to know them. Due to Corona, it's getting a little bit slower because it's not so easy to do everything digital. But we have a big digital mature with the cities and something like that. So we're working. We know it's going on. So it's like things are happening, and I hope you want to come and visit our living lab. So what we have created so far is about 30 different installations all over this region, and they're up and running. So if you're interested in schools, roads, artistic lights, whatever, let us know, and we put together a tour for you, show what you can do with light, and you're going to be amazed, because for so many things you can do with light. So, but it's just, I have so many things to talk about. I'm afraid I'm going to use up all the time here. But if you want to talk to me, know more about it, go talk to me, contact me or something like that, or go to our webpage.
Yes. I hope you do that.
Yeah, I hope so. And before I go, I have one more thing. So, let's see what we have here. I want you to spread the light. This is an off-grid solution. Microphone. So this is an off-grid solution. Pull the string, and there is light. Bring the light to you wherever you are in the greater Copenhagen. So I have one more light of these, so please contact me, and there's a lottery. I always have a little lottery. These lamps are very popular. Anna is now spreading the light. I hope you will share it all over the region, and there's going to be one more out there. Email me at Innovation Skåne, and there's a raffle.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
I'll keep this, maybe I should put it here. Good thing. The program for today is coming to a close. And but before we leave, we're going to summarize some of the takeaways from today. And we've learned quite a lot, right? So I have some notes here. I have to look a bit to remember everything because it's quite a lot. First of all, where do you start when you want to go take your business to Denmark? Well, it's good to do a market analysis. And it depends on what kind of company you have. You do different kind of analysis and can go in with a different amount of, a different size of sorry, can't express myself here, but you do a different type of business in Denmark. If you don't have the money for a market analysis, or if you just happen to go to Denmark by a chance, like we heard from actually almost both the companies, the entrepreneurs visiting here, you can do it anyway. Or you can get maybe a small market analysis from Science for Society, them helping you with contact to students at Aarhus University. Also, it could be a good idea to contact the Exportcentrum to make sure that you don't risk as much going abroad. We also learned a lot about the Danish market. The big industries are life science, food industry, energy, infrastructure, retail, tech, and also sustainability, which is also a trend in Denmark along with the digitalization. There's also the possibility of the UN in Denmark, that you can enter the UN market. And I can mention that you shouldn't forget that there is a UN Global Innovation Center at Ideon, where we are. So you can always go there as well. The focus there is on companies in an early stage that want to work with the global challenges. Then when you go into Denmark, you might need to get some help and look out for things like tax, VAT, and legal aspects. And then it could be a good idea to make a phone call in the very beginning and find out what applies to your company. VAT, it might not be necessary, and you could save some money if you look into it from the beginning. Also, it could be a good thing to find an actor that will follow you through, so you can get help not only in the beginning, but also when you're working in Denmark. I would also like to mention what we haven't talked about today, but there's an information service called Øresund Direct, which is very good. And they have lots of information about Denmark. And they also have a page for Danish companies, øresunddirektbusiness.com. And you'll find lots of information. And you can also book a session with their advisors who can, one Swedish and one Danish advisor, and they will guide you through what applies for your company. Then we've met some interesting entrepreneurs who told us many interesting things. I'll just summarize some of them. If we start with Niklas at Nayel, I told you that you could be prepared that the Danes want some tilbud. They want to bargain the price, so you can prepare for that. You could just find, you told me before actually that maybe you should learn some Danish words that could be useful in your business. It might help with the communication. Anders talked about it could be a help to contact Business Sweden before you go into Denmark and learn a bit more about labor laws, so you save yourself some time later on. Then his most important thing was maybe to find the enthusiasts who wants to build on your company, who wants to really like it, and it might be an idea to go into a smaller town to have a bit less of competition. And then finally, you could find a network that suits you. We've seen two networks, been presented with two networks that can be of help for you when you want to go to Denmark. First of all, Science for Society. You can sit in the house in Aarhus. You can get the contacts, mentors, and network, also help with the market analysis as we talked about. Lighting Metropolis can also, if you're in the light business in some aspect, you can find people to cooperate with and new customers and show your project in another way. There are also some corporate networks that you can join. One is Øresundsbrun Business Meeting. They usually have a few every year. Since I come from the Øresund Institute, Øresundsinstitutet, I would like to say that you can always join us, and we have network meetings, several every year. If you're in life science, there's Medicon Valley Alliance that have several different networks in cancer and other things as well. If you're up in Helsingborg, Helsingør, there's something called HH-gruppen, which is partly a public cooperation, but also with companies. You can look into what they do. And also, maybe it's for bigger companies, but there's a network called arranged by something called alumni, and there's Øresundsgruppen, but both of those you have to be invited. So just work on and get to know the right people, and they will let you in, hopefully. So that was the takeaways for today. We're very glad that you wanted to follow our seminar, and we hope you have learned a lot and got inspired, and maybe you want to go on making business in Denmark now. And before we end, we would like to invite you to our next Going Global seminar. It's about Germany, and it's the 26th of November. So see you then, and bye for now.